You get to roll first after reading your article. Like that one? You like that one? I tell you, y'all don't think I read them. I read them.
Could you talk about the adjustments that you guys made, obviously, from this first half to the second half? It was a different team out there. Even despite the personnel, they played really hard.
I think that's what happened. More than anything, I think we came out and played a little bit harder. You know, we did practically the same thing. We didn't make anything major. We settled them down, talked about that. And really, you know, I think the game changed because of them more than us. You know, they got a little bit more conservative, I thought, more than anything. We started executing what we were trying to do. You know, we brought a little bit more pressure. But other than that, we really didn't.
Who was the message guy on that unit that kind of maybe got in guys' faces or kind of mobilized the unit?
You know, you always get somebody in there talking. It's just that guy at that particular time. It's no one person all the time. It's just whoever's talking at the moment.
Sort of multi-part question, Donnie. So I'm assuming you knew some of those guys wouldn't be playing, or you thought some of them might not be playing because they weren't practicing on Wednesday, especially corner. But did that sort of change at all any of your approach to the game, especially not having Rowe?
It's like you said, we knew sometimes you can't show your hand, so to speak, week to week. And, you know, fortunate for me, I've been around a long time where, you know, you just try to play through it and you practice the guys that you know you're going to have to play, and you're hoping the guys that is a little sick can play, so to speak. You know, but as the week goes on, you know pretty much, hey, this guy's probably, you know, he probably ain't going to make it. And now you're saying to yourself, luckily that you practice these other guys during the week. So the guys that played was more of the guys that got all the reps all week, basically.
Did you play different coverages than you
No,
think? Okay.
No, same coverages. Same guys played. You know, we didn't change any coverages like that. But the biggest thing was those guys who practiced all week did play in the game compared to, you know, the guys that was a little sick.
It felt like, especially early on, you had some close opportunities where safeties got their hands on balls.
Got our hands on a lot of balls, man. And, you know, Chris got his hands on at least two himself. You know, one on their sideline, one on our sideline. I think DJ got his hands on one. We batted down a few. So we got our hands on a lot of balls. You know, unfortunate for us, it didn't turn into turnovers or takeaways. So we talked about that a little bit as a staff. You know, hey, we got our hands on some balls. And again, you know, the change was, if you ask me, was them more than us, because they slowed it. We started bringing a little bit more pressure, and then they started saying we better get a little bit conservative and try to get this game over with, so to speak, than trying to say let's run up the score. That's how I felt about it.
Donnie, you've been around Merlin and Kyle for a long time, and others who are seniors. What do you think about just kind of what they've brought to the program?
Well, you know, they've been here longer than me, obviously, and that's, you know, somebody was saying to me, you know, you know, you got 2 games left, you can't go to a bowl game, what do you play for? I can make that very simple. You got 2 games, you play one for the seniors and you play one for the state. And our seniors deserve that. You know, they deserve to go out in those 2 games as winners, winning as your last home game, and then win as the state. You know, so that's what I've talked about, and I think that's the message it will be the message from my end as far as the defense is concerned. And I said it to him yesterday. You know, that's what you're playing for. You know, sometimes it's hard to get motivated when you don't see yourself going to a bowl. But realistic right now, you got a chance to do 2 things that's significant. Is one's for the seniors, and then the other one is for the state. So we got a lot to play for.
And when you're in the role that you have, is there anything this particular week that you do differently or that you do to honor those guys, or conversations that you might have with them, or is it kind of the same?
I think it takes care of itself, you know, because they get their own day. You know, they get to walk out with their parents and significant others, and, you know, those type of deals that you try to honor them with. You know, I'll have probably that last walkthrough, you know, where they get to go down the line and you get to hit them. No, I'm just kidding. You know, they get to walk down the line and you get to high five them and give them hugs, things like that. I hope we'll get that accomplished. But that's about it, you know.
And then, Coach, I know you talked about all season long, obviously, whether who's in there or out, but playing the full game, playing consistently. And It's not been for, obviously, lack of effort. The effort's been there, but what do you see as, I guess, been the speed bump to that, just playing that complete defensive game?
Well, it's usually the same thing. It's mental breakdowns at times, not executing the call, not playing technique. And the best part about that, I don't believe anybody is trying to do anything malicious or trying to screw up or trying to have errors. It's just, it's the game is so tough. You got to play it one play at a time. And, it's the circle. Once you get the call, you got to know what you're supposed to do, and then you got to make sure you make the communication. Next thing you got to know is what technique goes with that call, and then the ball is snapped. And now once the ball is snapped, hopefully you've ran through that in your mind before that ball is snapped. And that's what it comes down to. And sometimes you get, the ball is getting ready to be snapped, and you're still saying, "What do I line?" And it's like I say to the players, and I played myself at one time. For me, the scariest moment for me was not knowing the call. Not knowing the call is a scary moment. Can you imagine that? You break the huddle, and you don't know the call, and now you got to line up. What do you do? So if you can eliminate that process by getting it the circle, once you hear the call, you process it, you know what you're supposed to do, you get lined up, and now the technique comes into play, you're usually pretty good. But I think that's as the years progress, the biggest thing has been getting lined up and playing technique.
Hey, Donnie, Cole Bradley, Sun Devil Source. As you prepare for Oregon State, they have a really dynamic rushing attack. It seems like they, spread out their carries pretty evenly. What are you sort of seeing from them as you prepare for them?
I see a fast offense that's hitting that ball, hitting it downhill. The runners are pretty good runners, all three of them. The offensive line knows exactly how they're getting off the ball, and they're mauling you, and they're knocking you off the ball. And then, this quarterback is much different than the last quarterback, obviously. They don't ask him to throw the ball as much. I mean, this is a running football team. So, the biggest thing for us is we got to pack it in, and I talked about it last week, is making sure I can see the back of your jersey, seeing your name, because if that thing gets sideways, it's going downhill. So probably one of the most explosive offenses we've seen as far as the running game. I mean, they're well coached now. This is a well coached team. One of the coaches have said, this might be the most or the best well coached team in the Pac-12. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're committed to running the football. There ain't no doubt about that. Everybody knows it too. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I asked Coach Aguano this too, but what about preparing for Jack Coletto? He's kind of been a thorn in the side of ASU the past couple of years.
Who is that? I got her on that one. Did you see her? Did you see her go, "Oh, no, he really doesn't know"?
It's not like you don't watch film.
Is that number 12? Is that guy you're talking about? The big guy that plays all those positions? Well, what about him? Well, when he's in the game, that's for sure. He'll let you know when he's coming in. You're right. He has been a thorn a little bit, over the years. He's been in that situation where he's the quarterback, and now he's, short yardage. He's running downhill. Now they spread him. Now he's doing a little bit more. Now he's the fullback at times, and now he's blocking people. Now all of a sudden he turns around. Yeah, they got the personnel on the field. They can put him at quarterback. The bottom line is knowing when he's in the game for me and making sure I can make the right situational calls and make sure we can get lined up and keep the ball in front. That's basically how I look at it. When I know he's in the game, I know he's a weapon, so you better make sure I got the right calls in to make sure we get lined up. Got you on that one, didn't I? Mm-hmm. I know. I knew I got you on that one, especially after your article. I thought, did you guys converse? I mean, you guys didn't talk about it? Oh, really? You must have been a little cold in it. Did you? Oh, did you? Oh, sorry to hear that. How you doing? You okay? Really? You had COVID, really? Oh, I had it too at one time, and they got me for 18 days, so I know what it's like. Ooh, yeah. What we got? Come on. What? What you got? Come on.
Hey, Coach.
What? This has been a difficult year. Go ahead.
You mentioned without sort of the promise of a bowl game, some of the difficulties that go into motivating the players. 2 games left. What goes into making sure that they're ready from start to finish?
Well, just like I said, I mean, to me, we got 2 games, and there's 2 reasons for those games. One's for the seniors, and the other one's for the state. If you can't get up for those 2, it's going to be hard for me to motivate you anyway. I mean, because someday you're going to be a senior, and you're going to hope that, guess what, we play our tails off so your last hurrah in this stadium is a good one, because that's what you're going to remember. Say what you want to. From one of you athletes that have been in here, I'm sure you remember your last game. And how did it go? Did you win or lose it? And you went, and you remember it. So it's easy for me. I can tell you right now, I got 2 things to think about. It's for the seniors, and it's for the state. That's my bowl game. I can win them 2, I'm happy. I can't take away from anything else. I can't go backwards. At least I can keep moving forwards and get 1 for the seniors and 1 for the state. So that's me. That's how I'm looking at it. He almost got me excited there.
Donnie, I asked this of Sean earlier. You're very familiar with ASU for a very long time.
Yeah.
There's going to be a new head coach, whether that's Sean or somebody else. What do you think are the most important criteria, specifically at ASU, that make for a good candidate?
Well, you got one. You got the guy that's running it right now. You got a local guy that knows the people in the valley, that knows all high school coaches in this valley, that wants the job, and maybe I'm speaking for him, but you got the perfect candidate. I mean, Sean has done a great job taking over this program and leading it in the direction we are in. I mean, you think about it now. I've been around a long time, and when you start making changes at mid-season, it could go the other way. I'll give you one right now. You think about those guys in the pros right now. And luckily, Saturday won last week. Yeah, but when you start making changes and you bring guys in from the outside where these kids don't know and things like that, it becomes a question mark in their mind of what then they start to question the administration, what are you trying to accomplish? But you asked for the key thing, it's leadership, and he brings that to the table. I mean, he's got great leadership qualities, and not only that, he's got the energy, man. You got to have somebody with energy that comes in this program. This is not as easy as people always think about it. And I've been here a long time, 2 tours, and you got to fight, You got to go over. You got to have a great recruiting base. Number one, where you're gonna hit all the local high schools, which he will do. Try to get the best kids to stay home, which most of the time they don't want to. They want to go see something else, and I understand it. I got an 18-year-old son that I tried to get him to stay home and be an athlete here, and he said, I'm going to Minnesota. What? But that's what the kids grow up wanting to do. So, when the people in this valley really sit down and think about who could be the next guy, you got him right now. You really do.
Just to follow on, there are coaches who motivate by fear. There's coaches who motivate by love. It's sort of tough to bridge the gap between those 2 things with discipline. And ASU struggled with that over the years, kind of bouncing between the one side or the other.
Does that mean just the leadership groups they brought in?
I just think that the coaching staffs, for whatever reason, they've either been the players, coaches who are high on penalties and discipline issues, or you've had the Todd Graham type of a coach, right?
Right.
So Bruce Snyder seemed like a guy who found a way to thread the needle with that. And so what do you think as a coach about Sean and about just the importance of kind of being able to have discipline but also have players that are motivated?
Well, he's already demonstrated that with us now. I mean, I like Sean's approach, really. It's a discipline that really you understand it before you even get it. Because he'll tell you in a minute, if you're late, okay, there's no excuses, there's consequences. And once you lay that on the line right early, you don't have a problem. It's when you have to vacillate back and forth trying to figure out how you draw the line. But the line's already been drawn with these kids. They know right now, and if you miss something, you're up at 5:30 in the morning. That's it. That's your consequence. And you don't have to beat the dead horse, so to speak. You just lay out the consequences and you move on. That's discipline. I mean, it's like I told my son, and I'll tell you guys here. When I was brought up, there was only one rule in my house, okay? And I grew up with 7 kids. I was the oldest of 7. And my dad only had one rule. You know what it was? The do-right rule. If you had to think about it, it's wrong. Drop the mic. I'm gone.